In today's episode, don't piss off your farmer neighbor, you may have to pay for it. Ex-landlord says he'll see me in court. I take him to court instead and win. How my so got my birthday off. So let's get started. Don't piss off your farmer neighbor, you may have to pay for it. So this didn't happen to me, but an attorney that I work with regularly as part of my job. He moved from a very high COL area to our rural community. Sold his $2 million house, paid off and inherited from his grandparents, and bought 50+ acres with a huge house in a bedroom community that has a lot of dairy farms. He always used to say how it was much better living up here, both in terms of the lifestyle and monetarily, as his urban $2 million house had property taxes in excess of $40,000/year. Now, in addition to the huge house, the property was mostly fields, 40-ish acres, and had a 10-acre or so large woodlot. After he moved into his new house, the attorney was approached by his neighbor, one of the area dairy farmers. The farmer told the attorney how he had a handshake agreement with the former owner of the attorney's home/property. The farmer would mow the fields for hay 2 to 3 times per year, and would harvest a sustainable amount of trees out of the woodlot. In exchange, the former property owner got 10% of the chopped wood, which was more than enough to heat the house all year long without having to run the oil boiler for anything more than hot water. The farmer wanted to keep this arrangement going, as it had worked out well for both parties for over a decade. The attorney thought the former owner was being taken advantage of and refused to do a handshake agreement, but told the farmer to give him a week to draw up a proper contract. The farmer was not overjoyed with making this out to be more than a gentleman's agreement, but agreed to come back the following week. The attorney decided that what would be fair was that the farmer should pay him $1,000 each time he mowed the fields for hay, since the farmer would feed the hay to his cows for free otherwise, completely ignoring that the farmer was using his own equipment and time to do the haying, and that the lawyer deserved 50% of the chopped wood, not 10%. Or at least the 50% of the revenue the farmer got from selling the excess chopped wood, again ignoring the equipment and time investment of the farmer. As you can guess, the farmer refused. This all happened in late 2019, when the fields were rather bare, and the supply of chopped wood for the house was full. Well, here comes 2020, and now the fields start looking like garbage, because none of the other farmers will pay to hay the fields. In fact, after speaking with the first farmer, all of the other area farmers are unwilling to mow the fields unless the attorney pays them $1,000 per mowing. And of course, come wintertime the attorney's woodpile is depleted, and he has to use the oil boiler to heat his entire home, costing well over $300/month in winter heating costs. Now we come to early 2021, tax prep season. The farmer, being a dutiful community-minded citizen, informs the town that he did not cultivate any of the attorney's land for the entirety of 2020, nor did he know of any other farmers who did. Well, as it turns out, this is a big deal, because in our state farmland is assessed at a much lower value than residential property and additionally has a separate and lower tax rate. The attorney's land had previously been entirely zoned as farmland, except for the house and a few acres of lawn around it. Now, the town sent out an assessor and rezoned the entire 50+ acres as residential, which more than tripled the taxable property value and imposed the residential tax rate rather than the much lower farm tax rate. The attorney was quite surprised and furiously told me, and everyone else we work with, all this past week how he's going to sue the town because they now expect him to pay $50,000/year in property taxes. Ex-landlord says he'll see me in court. I take him to court instead and win. Brief backstory: a couple years ago, I was in an apartment with my friend and younger sister. My sister was violent towards my friend and I ended up having to get a restraining order against her. She brought in a dog without permission, which caused some damage to the unit. I informed my landlord of the incidences of violence and the damage and sent him pictures. He basically told me to deal with it myself, which I did by getting the protective order. After this, my roommate questioned the legality of holding us responsible for her portion of rent. I told her it was, but she asked our landlord for a copy of the lease to show her uncle anyway, which admittedly was pretty stupid. Up until this point, our landlord had not asked us to leave due to my sister's actions, but he did after the lease was brought into it. We were out by the date he specified on the notice to quit, the first step in the eviction process before the eviction actually occurs. My roommate was there until midnight making sure the place was spotless. We moved to an apartment across the street. 2 weeks had passed since he was informed that we had vacated the unit, and we had not gotten anything regarding our security deposit. In our state, a landlord is required by law to either return the remainder of a security deposit within 2 weeks, or provide a letter itemizing what the deposit was used for. If they don't, the tenant is owed the entire deposit. If the withholding is willful, the tenant is owed double the original deposit. The landlord had actually told me that he would be going on vacation immediately after we vacated, so I returned our keys to him and waited to see if he would send anything. He never did. After consulting with a tenants' rights group to be sure I was in the right, I sent a pre-formatted letter 16 days after we vacated, which stated the specific laws regarding security deposits, and gave him our current address to send either the deposit or receipt to. The day after I sent this letter, I see him across the street, frantically running into the apartment for the first time since we moved out. I receive a text from him saying that he would return what's left of our deposit if he could get the apartment rented by the 1st of next month. I respond by telling him that, as the letter I sent explained, he forfeits the right to keep any of the deposit after the 2 weeks is up. He responded saying that he would see us in court and that we were nightmare tenants, and that this will be fun. He said he would also be taking us to court for the costs to relist and rent the apartment, which he claimed exceeded the amount of our deposit. After about a month or two of hearing nothing back, we decided to say fuck it and file a small claims suit against him, as he clearly wasn't going to follow through on his threats. As the person who had almost all communication with him, I was the plaintiff in the case. He brought a letter that was dated for the day he texted me, where he arbitrarily wrote in what he used the deposit on, and claimed he sent us the letter. That obviously didn't add up, which I thoroughly explained to the judge, as he had texted me that day saying that we would get some of the deposit returned, and that he had no proof that he actually sent that letter. He clearly just wrote it and printed it out for the court hearing. During the court hearing he also said a lot of false and victim-blaming shit, such as implying that I participated in the violence that occurred, saying we caused damages that were definitely there when we moved in, and just attacking my character in general. The judge ruled that the withholding of the security deposit was willful, and awarded us double the deposit. But of course that wasn't the end of it, and a few days before his deadline to pay us the money, he sends me a text just letting me know that the decision has been appealed. I didn't answer and showed up to court again, and lo and behold, it's more mudslinging and arguing about things that we already established in the first hearing. The judge upheld the original decision, and he eventually mailed me the check for double the deposit. In the memo line on the check where you can write the reason for the payment, he wrote, "For gaining £20. But hey, I cashed the check and spent my half on a new gaming laptop, so I'd say I got the last laugh. I desperately wanted to text him and ask him if it was as fun as he thought it would be, but resisted the urge. How I so got my birthday off. The title doesn't sound malicious compliance, but don't judge based off of the name. I rarely celebrate my birthday anymore, but if it wasn't for my 21M, I wouldn't have such an awesome story to share. He's letting me share since he doesn't have Reddit. Here's the cast, names changed for privacy. Shane my Fred the boss. Dick the leader of the team. Honey well, it's me, LOL. Shane works in a heavy machinery company, HMC. He really loves his job, and Shane doesn't look like he can lift that much. You'd be surprised. He's got a great gig working 12-hour shifts with the weekly days off, which he usually spends time with me. On the day this happens, Shane's waiting for one of the machines to restart. In comes Dick. D*CK starts going off on Shane, as he just sees him standing there, stop standing around and get back to work. Of course, Shane defends himself with the obvious, stating the restart and whatnot. They go at this for a few minutes, then comes the glorious words. Shane, you know what? How about we trade places for the day? We'll see who has the tougher job. Dick, of course, agrees. Dick, I want your whole schedule for the day. Shane, okay, to be clear, you want my whole schedule? Dick, yes, your whole schedule. Shane, okay. Shane proceeds to hand over 3 pages, written over front and back, his entire schedule. D*CK looks it over. There's no way this is your schedule for the day. The week, maybe. Shane gives him a serious look. That is my entire schedule for the day. D*CK walks off to start Shane's schedule. Shane stands at Dick's desk and starts on what's supposed to be 6 hours of work. Shane gets the work done in an hour. D*CK comes back in 2 hours. Shane, you need to help me with this. I can't. You need to learn it like I did. I had to figure out how to do it myself. You need to help me. I'm the leader for the day. Stop standing around and get back to work. Dick's face had never been redder as he walked away to figure it out. Turns out D*CK actually complained to Fred, the boss, and Fred comes in. Dick says you are not respecting him? Shane shrugs and explains what actually happened. Fred rubs his chin and goes silent for a few minutes. D*CK looks smug as if he'd won. Then Fred responds with something that makes Shane grin ear to ear. Well, I had something I needed Shane's help with tomorrow morning, but since Shane's got plans tomorrow, and he's the leader, D*CK you'll have to be his replacement. It's been a week and Dick's still mad from what I've heard. You may ask me what malicious compliance was in the story. D*CK learned exactly how much work my man does in the company by Shane maliciously complying with Dick's demand. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.